I want you to carefully watch this video and tell me exactly what reveals that you're not looking at a real person, setting aside the obvious fact that its brain is a computer. The vast majority of people can instantly sense that something is off, that this isn't a real person. However, when it comes to pinpointing precisely what details give it away, many people draw a complete blank. This is what we call the Uncanny Valley theory. There's something deeply unsettling about what appears human, but isn't quite right. That strange, uncomfortable feeling you get when you see a robot that almost looks like a person, or an animation attempting to recreate a human face, but falls just short of the mark. This theory suggests that the more realistic a non-human figure becomes, the more empathy and connection it generates, up to a certain point. But when it becomes too realistic without being perfect, it triggers an instinctive rejection instead. There are countless examples. Androids like Sophia, CGI animations in movies like The Polar Express, or those TikTok filters where a face distorts for just a split second. More recently, we're seeing AI-generated videos where digital humans blink too slowly, or their smile sits just slightly wrong on their face. The fascinating thing is that our fear isn't really of the robot or digital creation itself, but of what it represents. Something that desperately wants to appear human, but fundamentally is not. And if it's not human, then what exactly is it? Five Nights at Freddy's brought back a forgotten word, automatophobia. This refers to the irrational fear of artificial human figures. Mannequins are the most obvious example, but it also extends to religious statues, wax figures, robots, and antique automatons. What all these figures share is that unsettling quality of seeming alive without actually being so. And for some people, that's deeply disturbing. Mannequins are a perfect case study. They stand motionless, mimicking human postures, but something about their proportions, their vacant expressions, or their unnaturally smooth skin simply feels wrong. That instinctive discomfort, that immediate sense of rejection, has a name: automatophobia. In severe cases, this phobia can trigger sweating, rapid heartbeat, intense anxiety, and even full-blown panic attacks. Some people completely avoid department stores, churches, or museums, terrified of encountering one of these figures. Online videos only make things worse. Viral clips show mannequins that appear to move ever so slightly, turning their heads, blinking, shifting positions. While most of these movements can be explained by air currents, lighting tricks, or video editing, the feeling persists. Something that shouldn't move just did. The effect becomes most intense when these figures are damaged, dirty, or shrouded in poor lighting. Then, the terror multiplies exponentially. Automatophobia is at its essence a blend of the uncanny valley and our primal fear of being watched by something that has no business looking back. When someone begins to lose their vision, you'd expect what follows to be darkness. However, in certain cases, something unexpected happens instead. Images begin to appear. This is Charles Bonet syndrome, a condition that affects people with partial or total visual impairment, causing surprisingly vivid visual hallucinations. These aren't just simple flashes of light or blurry shadows, but complete, detailed scenes, unfamiliar human figures, animals, intricate landscapes, or geometric patterns that emerge from absolutely nowhere. Some of these visions can be harmless, even beautiful, but others venture into deeply disturbing territory. Faces twisted beyond recognition, crowds of motionless figures, creatures that watch silently from corners without ever moving. The most unnerving aspect is that those who experience it are fully aware that what they're seeing doesn't exist, yet they cannot make it stop. Deprived of real visual input, the brain decides to fill the void by creating its own reality. For many people, this becomes an overwhelming psychological burden, living each day surrounded by images that only they can see, knowing these phantom visions will never completely disappear. Analog horror has become one of the most effective ways to provoke visual terror, relying on fake recordings, retro aesthetics, static interference, and distorted faces. In many of these videos, what generates fear isn't what actually happens, but what feels like it's about to happen. This genre has perfected the art of using manipulated footage that resembles authentic recordings, school announcements, emergency broadcasts, security camera feeds. But hidden within the mundane, something appears. A face without eyes, a signal that shouldn't exist, a presence lurking in the static. The visual becomes a threat when the everyday is twisted beyond recognition. It's a silent fear that enters through the eyes but strikes directly at the brain's most primitive responses. These works are filled with visual distortion and unsettling audio, presenting short stories that feature surreal entities, figures that seem to emerge from the fragments of a broken dream, crawling out of corrupted transmissions and malfunctioning broadcasts. Analog horror proves that fear doesn't always need traditional monsters or jump scares. Sometimes, all it takes is a face that's just slightly wrong, a transmission that cuts out at the worst possible moment, or the creeping realization that what you're watching was never meant to be seen. The Thatcher Effect reveals one of the most unsettling weaknesses of the human brain: how we process faces. When we look at an upside-down face, our brain still tries to interpret it as if it were right side up. That's where the deception begins. This illusion is created by inverting a facial image while keeping the eyes and mouth in their original orientation, creating a contradiction our minds can't immediately detect. The result, at first glance, appears completely normal, but the moment you flip the image back to its proper orientation, the brutal truth is revealed. The expression transforms into a distorted, grotesque grimace, as if the face has been cursed or is rotting from within. What's most disturbing is that for those crucial first moments, our mind fails to detect anything wrong. Only when the trick is revealed does our reaction become immediate and visceral. Thousands of examples circulate online, and some artists have pushed this phenomenon to its extreme, creating characters with faces permanently warped according to this twisted logic. The Thatcher Effect is visual proof that horror doesn't always need blood or monsters. Sometimes, all it takes is something that appears perfectly normal, but upon closer inspection, fundamentally shouldn't exist. Though it's not yet officially recognized in clinical manuals, millions of people worldwide claim to suffer from this deeply unsettling condition. It involves an intense reaction of revulsion or anxiety, triggered by repetitive patterns of small holes clustered together. Honeycombs, soap bubbles, certain fruits, seed pods, and even some skin conditions can provoke this almost instantaneous wave of discomfort. Some theories suggest this reaction may have evolutionary origins. Our brains might have learned to associate these patterns with danger signals, infections, parasites, or toxic organisms that could threaten our survival. The internet has become flooded with images specifically designed to trigger this revulsion: digitally manipulated fruits, human skin with artificial hole patterns, or grotesque compositions that exploit our deepest visual anxieties. For those who suffer from trypophobia, this isn't just an internet curiosity, it's torment. Those who experience it describe violent chills, uncontrollable itching, cold sweats, waves of nausea, and an overwhelming urge to look away immediately. What appears as merely a strange image to some becomes a visceral experience of genuine visual horror for others.